Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to build the ultimate team for Pokemon Legends EA online ranked battles. Now I recently did a video on how to get to rank A fast, you can check that out as well, but I want to show you how to make a team using Pokemon that you want to use. That's one of the most important things with this game, but I'll be showing you common archetypes and Pokemon that you want to look out for. My current favorite team right now for Season 2 of Ranked Battles is to use Xerneas here alongside Metagross and Feraligatr, and I'm going to explain the reason why. Each of them fills a role in the team, and you should always have someone here like Xerneas, which is my setup sweeper. They're the main damage dealer. They're typically going to have moves like Swords Dance, in Xerneas' case, Geomancy, which is an absolutely broken move, doubling its special attack, special defense, and speed, which makes you really bulky against other special attackers, but also you can one-shot a lot of Pokemon. Other attackers that are really great in this role are like Garchomp, getting Swords Dance, going into things like Earthquake is extremely powerful. And Gardevoir can kind of fill this role as well. But right now, I'd say Xerneas is one of the best. And to kind of complement this, we want someone that's going to be able to support. Now, you can spread this out amongst all your Pokemon because you don't have someone with only support moves, but Light Screen and Reflect are extremely good moves. This will make it so that you take half special damage. And Reflect being the physical damage counterpart. These are nice to have split between two Pokemon typically, but you can have someone with two of them, especially if they have moves like Metagross here, because Bullet Punch is a 3-second cooldown and Heavy Slam only has a 10-second cooldown, and if you have your speed buff, this actually can help you get them back a little quicker. So we have our damage dealer, our support, and we have a bulky, tanky Pokemon. I find that water types fit this role really well just due to how many Pokemon there are in this game, and where water Pokemon are just pretty strong. I like using Feraligatr for this season. It's one of the starters. It's just fun to sometimes use a Pokemon that you enjoy using. This one for me. It also can turn into the Dragon type, which gives me some coverage because I don't have a Dragon type on my team. And that's something else I want to mention is one of the damage dealers on your team, like as I mentioned, Garchomp, a Dragon type is really good. They resist some of the common elemental damage types. So your fire, your water, your grass, and they're just usually going to be higher stat Pokemon. Another Pokemon that I've been enjoying in the tanky role is Slowbro, who has a pretty high special attack, whereas Feraligatr is more on the physical attack, but Slowbro's Mega Form has an insane defense stat. So if you're going up against things like Metagross often, it can actually be nice to use Slowbro. Now, Aggron's actually a pretty good tanky Pokemon in this game because despite Rock and Steel being a terrible typing, its Mega becomes just pure Steel, so you can use Aggron with the Heavy Slam move because its Mega is really heavy, and that can actually make it pretty strong. Blastoise is another Pokemon that can fit this role, but they are kind of squishy comparably. It's that Gen 1 power creep. Like everything in future gens end up being stronger, especially with Feraligatr getting with that new Mega. And as much as I like Lucario, I find Lucario's a little bit weaker in this game. Steel being a good type, but Earthquake being so common on Garchomp makes it tough for him to succeed. And also having the fighting type makes him weak to certain moves, especially with Metagross and Psychic types being somewhat common. Now, some other Pokemon that you may consider slotting on your team. Chandelure with its Mega Form has an insane special attack stat, with its Mega Form going upwards of 175 base stat for special attack, which is an insane stat. So I highly recommend using Chandelure. I had a lot of fun with them, but they're a little bit squishier. And as I mentioned, water types are kind of common, so it's nice to have a water combatant. But for a damage dealer, Chandelure is extremely useful. Another damage dealer that I like to use is Gyarados. Now, the one problem is that when you're not in your Mega Form, lightning and moves will just take you out immediately. And there are some Xerneas that will run Thunder, so that is something to watch out for, as this is a very strong Pokemon. But however, if you get the Mega Form, this actually gives it some extra survivability. However, adding the Dark type makes you weak to Xerneas' like Dazzling Gleam, so Gyarados is nice, but it kind of falls into a weird spot where it can actually get hit pretty hard often. Yveltal can work as well, Oblivion Wing giving us actual healing, which is pretty good. It's actually one of the better flying type moves in the game. And typically fighting types are going to have a high defense, so the special attack will actually be pretty powerful against them. But getting any type of sustain move like that is really good. But if you're going to use a restricted Pokemon, Xerneas is by and far the better choice. Diancie isn't even really that amazing just because of how common water types are, and it's incredibly weak to them. Another good damage dealer in the support kind of role too is Starmie. Starmie got a really funny Mega, but it's got a really high stat total. They actually gave it more stats than it should get just because it's a Gen 1 Pokemon. So with Mega Starmie, its attack becomes 140, so you can actually go and spec around a stack, but its special attack is 130, so it's still a really good special attacker. Defenses both become 105, so it's actually kind of bulky despite only having 60 health, and it gets 120 speed, so it's got good recovery on its moves. I actually really like Mega Starmie as well. Now, if you prefer to use some different types of supports, Venusaur can work, but due to the online combat nature, using sleep and things like that aren't really that great, and Giga Drain doesn't really sustain you as much as some other moves. As much as I love Venusaur, they're better in actual like competitive play and not this version of it. I also want to mention Dragonite, who has a really cool new Mega and a very powerful physical attacker, but they also get extreme speed, which is really nice. 65 base power, 3-second cooldown. This is one of the best priority moves, and it can actually be nice in competitive because you can pick up attacks really quick and easy. However, one thing to keep in mind is ice attacks will typically one-shot you. Which brings me to a great counter and another great damage dealer. This is Glaceon, who is very strong physically. The reason that Glaceon works so well is they have a great move pool. Freeze Dry being a really powerful move, because with Freeze Dry, you can actually hit water types for super effective damage, which is extremely powerful. Blizzard is also a really good move. If you think that they're going to swap Pokemon, drop a Blizzard, because there's a little bit of a wind-up time, but if they're swapping, they probably are going to bring out like a Garchomp or Dragonite is actually a kind of common thing to swap. I've had lots of KOs in this game just by using a Blizzard whenever I predicted a swap. And then you have Ice Beam and Freeze Dry for backup. And then Shadow Ball is nice coverage against ghost types like Chandelure. And another really powerful Pokemon that I know a lot of people enjoy is Delphox. This is because they are like kind of a support class. They're support, but they also have really good offensive moves. Like they get access to Nasty Plot, they get access to Light Screen, Reflect. You can also get Psy Shock, which is a really good move because it deals physical damage. This is actually pretty powerful against certain Pokemon. You also get Dazzling Gleam, which is nice. Solar Beam, Heat Wave. Like Delphox just has a really good move pool. And you also get Mystical Fire, which is nice. So I'm going to show some example teams here. Now, I went with this setup of Garchomp, who's going to be our main setup sweeper attacker. With this move setup, we have Swords Dance to set up, Dragon Claw or Outrage for consistent damage. We got Earthquake as well, which is just going to be our main damage option, because with an Earthquake, you can take out Metagross typically, and Poison Jab, although you can swap this out for Iron Tail. Iron Tail will lower target's defense. Poison Tail is a quicker recovery, but it can poison enemies. Now, the reason we want Iron Tail or Poison Jab is for coverage. Not always can we swap away from a Xerneas, who's going to be our biggest threat. You always got to consider what's going to be the biggest threat for each of your teammates. So for that, we have Aggron here, who's going to be our counter. And what's great about Aggron is that we can actually set up with Slowbro to apply our light screen, so we get special defense boost. And then you can swap out and bring in Aggron, who's got iron defense, which will double its defense stats. So it can actually be really bulky into both physical and special attackers. And then we also got things like Heavy Slam, so its Mega Form will do crazy amounts of damage to Xerneas, and you get close to one-shotting, if not one-shotting it. I wish we had a move that uses defense, like the Body Press move, which uses our defense stat. But we also got Stone Edge here, using a rock type before we Mega Evolve to get ourselves a one-shot on Charizards, which is really nice. Earthquake, again, being a really good support move. It's nice to have ground coverage just because Lightning is a pretty decently common type, and a good counter to our Slowbro here, who's our support. This gives us Light Screen, and we also got Surf, which Surf is an incredible move in this game. That's why Water types are so good. Earthquake and Surf can take out 2 to 3 enemies at a time. Sometimes you get really lucky with that. We got Ice Beam for coverage against any type of the pseudo-legendary, so Garchomp or Dragonite. Again, Light Screen to defense. And Psy Beam, you can really use whatever psychic attacks. There's nothing like super effective, but just going to get that same type attack bonus. Now, another style setup, if you want to use Yveltal, who's actually kind of hard to use when Xerneas is just so powerful, what we can do with this to support it. So we got Focus Blast there. Any type of steel attackers, Focus Blast is just nice for the extra coverage, especially if you go against like anything that's going to be normal type as well. Dark Pulse is great for going against psychic types. As we're dark, we're also going to get a boost to that. And I guess also having Focus Blast is good against opposing dark type enemies. And then we also have Flying type here for against grass type Pokemon. We also have, I guess, Heat Wave too. This also gives us an advantage over any type of fighting types that we may go against. And then Heat Wave is just great to have for the extra damage. As a special attacker, it's kind of hard. You can throw Hurricane on there, as it's a pretty high damage attack and actually pretty useful to use. And Psychic is another choice if you just want to have any type of extra coverage for any others. But I think that this works well. You can put the Air Slash instead of a Fire type. I just like this move set up for any type of steel types. This is to protect our Gardevoir here, which this is our kind of support class because we got ourselves Light Screen. And I actually don't like running psychic type moves. It's not really that effective in the current meta. So Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast I find to be much better moves. This gives us a area of effect, as well as a Moonblast is great for chasing down targets that are running away. And we have Thunderbolt for any Gyarados that may pop up. However, Gardevoir can also take Focus Blast there as another choice in move. And even coverage moves like Magical Leaf or Draining Kiss can give you some extra sustain, and Mystical Fire is nice too. And then we have Glaceon. Ice type moves are really effective just because of how many Garchomps you're going to see, and also having Freeze Dry as an access to cover against water types is extremely effective. You can also swap some of these off, like you do get Disarming Voice, which is a minor attack, but you can also set up with Calm Mind, which is pretty nice too. But yeah, Glaceon's just here to deal with any of the dragon types that we'll be encountering. Could also be swapped out for Chandelure, who is extremely powerful attacker here. And alternatively, we could throw Dragonite into our spot where we had Yveltal and then run with this team up here. So I hope this video is useful. If you have any questions around team building, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I do have a video on how to EV train your Pokemon, so I'll link that as well as my video on how to get to rank A quickly in Pokemon Legends EA. If this video is useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next video.